and our State of the Village Committee, and then all of you, both here in person and online for attending, because it really shows your dedication and involvement in the community. So we'll start off with introductions. I'm just going to have you stand just to keep us on time here. So Fred Wychowski, Mukwonago Village President. Fred Chinook, Mukwonago Village Administrator. Diana Druska, Mukwonago Village Clerk. Sorry. Treasurer. Ron Bittner, Mukwonago Village Public Works Director. Scott Reeves, Village Trustee. Eric Brill, Village Trustee. John Miners, Village Trustee. Darlene Johnson, Village Trustee and County Supervisor. April Ruska, Executive Director, Mukwonago Chamber of Commerce. Sean McNulty, Superintendent, Mukwonago Area High School. School District, sorry. I think Dan Streit is online. Thank you, Dan. I know he couldn't be here in person today. Chief of Police, Village of Mukwonago. I did see Jeff Stein here. Chief Mukwonago Fire Department. Nick Redinger, State Representative. And I saw Cody Horlacher, State Representative, somewhere walk in. So thank you for being here today. And then I just want to introduce our board of directors. So besides myself, we have Peter, our president, Jim Cotterone, Immediate Hats president, and also our AV equipment operator up front. Jerry Pfeiffer, treasurer. Dr. Tom Herlichson, secretary. Craig, I always
Gerasimowicz.
Gerasimowicz, community.
It takes you a
service
decade to get there.
Project director, saw you here. Dustin Lehman, vocational service director. I know Steph couldn't be here today, but she's our public image director. Rick Deeby, international service director. And Fred Chinook, foundation director. So why Rotary? Like I said, I'm going to review a few slides to summarize why Rotary is really important, not only contributions in our community, but nationally and internationally. We would not be able to do this without your support, sponsorship, and assisting and volunteering. Why and who is the Rotary? Rotarians are professionals that work to volunteer and improve quality of life in their homes and worlds and community. When I think of service above self, I'm a nurse myself, so it's always putting people ahead of yourselves and also thinking about decisions that you're making to do what is good in the community. So really it's volunteering time and all of our talents. We all bring talents to the table and expect nothing in return. And this means a lot to me when I saw this. You expect nothing in return, as it's the most elegant way to live a worthwhile life. So also we eradicate polio in the world. So that was once the leading killer of children. Rotary jumped in right away. Polio has nearly been wiped out by global vaccination efforts. Obviously near and dear to my heart. Rotary's 6 areas of focus. These areas reflect humanitarian issues and needs that Rotarians are addressing worldwide. And then all of the things we think, say, and do really is our 4-way test. Something you'll hear Rotarians as we close out this meeting. And this really is a foundation of decisions we've made. We've had to make some pretty tough decisions over the last couple of years, all of us with the pandemic, and we really looked and talked at our board meetings about how important it is. Every year, Mukwonago Rotary Club with 35 members donates an average over $20,000 in cash and kind gifts to various causes, organizations, and projects, and contributes over 1,000 hours of service. In addition to fundraising events, I'll provide a summary in the next few slides. Rotary Mukwonago members also meet weekly at 7 to 8 a.m. every Thursday morning for breakfast. So come and join us, whether you'd like to join us, see what we're doing, seeing what we're up to. And also if you'd like to be a speaker and kind of tell us about, your company, organization that you work in, we welcome all of you to come. Also, we do with every speaker, they do receive a certificate in our appreciation that we're donating funds to vaccinate 20 children internationally for polio. So we're also on Facebook if you want to find us there. So Next slide is, we do have single membership and corporate membership. I'm part of a corporate membership. Corporate memberships generally are 4 to 5 members. Many companies will budget annually to help promote employee engagement in the community. We all learn so much from each other, like I said, and our talents that we bring to the table. So a couple of slides I'm going to go through fundraising events. I think many of you know the Jack-o'-lantern Jaunt Halloween Haunt. We're a co-sponsor of that. Also the the Backyard Shed Playhouse. You've seen us selling tickets at Field Park, Metro Market, formerly Pick and Save, or Walmart. Over Mugwanago Fall Fest and outdoor stage events. So this was our adult beverage vendor. And also the first concert at the band shelter at Indian Head Park was Mount Olives. There are more events coming in the future. You may remember the first concert, Mount Olive, it was pouring out, but it was actually very well attended. So you will see us Rotarians, sun, shine, or snow at the beer garden. The first picture in 2021, as you can tell with our masks on, beer drive-through garden. The package, we partnered with East Troy Brewery, included beer, root beer, and pretzel and mustard. And actually it was perfect timing because it was a weekend before the Super Bowl. We weren't in it. It was probably Tom Brady or something. And the pickup was at Americana Flower Shop. And actually we drew straws who could actually be in the cooler because the cooler was warmer than outside. I think it was below 0.
10 degrees.
Yeah, so, and then the before the holiday. So we can see bundled up for that too. This is one of my favorite pictures, but this was our Rotary Presents, and really Rotary Presents is partnering with Mugwanago High School at the Greenwald Foundation Performing Arts Center. Our goal is to bring in various types of entertainment right in the heart of Mugwanago. So you remember we first started off with Mugwanago's Got Talent 1 and 2. I did not win that. And an evening with John McGivern, which we had to reschedule quite a few times, but it was great. And then last fall, we had Piano Man Band, which is a tribute band to Billy Joel and Elton John. I think we saw a lot of dancing in the auditorium. Everybody had a really great time. And then more to come. We just had our board meeting last night, so we are announcing that our next show will be Kids from Wisconsin, Friday, June 30th. So it's we thought that would be a really good time. It'll actually be at the Performing Arts Center. Couple of additional projects we've been doing. Adopt a Family project. We serve local families who suffer from hunger, providing groceries and gifts of clothing, presents to the children. Food for Kids is in the picture. That's a mobile packing event to provide meals to children in need. And then each year we're also involved in an event held in Field Park here in Mugwanago called National Night Out. It's an annual community building campaign that promotes police, community partnerships, and neighborhood camaraderie. Our club involves giving out free snow cones. I know Einer has always organized that. I think I saw you walk in somewhere. And really these are ways for the club to give back to the community and to the world. We're also involved for Pro Healthcare Walks for Cancer, annual participation. I know we've done this for at least 4 years, so we donate to that and ourselves try to give money. So it's a lot of fun. We always meet at Field Park. You're welcome to join us. We usually do the first weekend in May. Bring our 4-legged friends. My little naughty one's on the far left there. So, I think she was with other dogs, but we're working on that. And then I won't go one by one on these, but overall since 2019, we've donated over $45,000. If you think of that, that's pretty amazing during a pandemic. Some of the events we could do, wearing masks outside in the middle of winter. But these causes go towards helping our area schools inform a scholarship, science, technology, engineering, and math initiatives, co-curricular programs, and the fine arts. We help the local food pantries to provide food directly to those who may not have enough to eat. And we support the local catastrophic fund to help assist families during medical hardship. And then getting to the end here, but also we have donated quite a bit to the shelter box. And I put a picture on here, just so you know what that is. Picture really, you can see what's included in the shelter box. It is actually emergency shelter for families around the world who've been displaced by disaster or conflict. This includes the shelter and multiple supplies. The Rotary clubs worldwide have mobilized to provide immediate relief to thousands of displaced families for over 16 years. To date, over 48 million has been donated from the Rotary members just across the world. And then more recently, the Rotary of Mukwonago donated funds along with the Rotary District to help send generators to Ukraine. Right now, it's extremely important. They're in the middle of winter. And then I just read an article in our Rotary magazine, which I had when you were walking in. But Rotaries across the world have donated over $15 million to help refugees displaced in the war. A lot of them their own money. And we also participate in clean water projects. Two of our Rotary members, Mark and then Rick Debe, they went to Guatemala for a clean water project last March. And so also we had some stoves that we helped. So we're doing a lot, not only in our local community, as you can hear. So now it's my pleasure to hand off the program to Mukwonago Village President, Fred Reichholz.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to thank the Rotary Club for again giving me the opportunity to talk about the village. And again, 2022 was a very busy time in our community. The village continues to be in a good, sound financial position. Equalized values increased over $205 million. The total value is set at $1,243,347. In the budget this year, we'll be paying down over $3 million in our debt services. This will help us maintain our AA bond rating. This allows us to borrow money at the lowest rate possible when funds are needed for various projects throughout the village. The majority of the tax levy increase this year is going towards employee benefits, such as healthcare costs, wage increases, and other costs driven by inflation, such as electricity, telephone, gas, fuel, etc. The same things we deal with in our own personal life. Our reserves to cover emergencies and other unforeseen problems remain over 25%. Our audit was again conducted by Baker Tilly. The village came through without any problems again. Our finance director, Diana Dougherty, and her staff continue to keep our village compliant with all the necessary paperwork. It's really a team effort because each department head works hard to stay within their budgets. Their work and efforts make our jobs as trustees much easier. The major increase on our village tax this year was related to the fire department referendum. As you know, staffing for both fire and ambulance services have become increasingly difficult in recent years. The days of volunteers coming from their homes to respond to calls are fading into our past. I do remember when your friends and neighbors were firefighters. They went into homes in harm's way to help and protect their families and their neighbors. However, now there are many more calls for service. The training isn't just on Wednesday night for 1 or 2 hours. Now there are certifications that are required, updates that are required, special medications and drugs that are to be administered to patients before they even get to the emergency room. This level of care has risen so much that it no longer is just a ride to the hospital. Volunteer hours just can't match those needs anymore. This is going on across the county and across our state. Stein is currently in the process of hiring 6 new full-time positions to staff this very important public safety need. 40% of the population of the village of Mukwonago is 45 and older. The need for emergency services will continue to grow as our community ages. Recent census numbers puts the village at around 8,400 residents. I recently met with Jamie Christoph, the sales director for Shore West Real Estate in Mukwonago. I wanted to hear firsthand how the real estate market in our area was doing. You can hear and read about national trends, but I wanted something local. Follow local sales in the Sunday Journal in the done deal section. Jamie told me that between July of 2021, December of 2022, they were involved in the sale of 716 properties in this area, valued at over $289 million. First-time buyers range in the price range of $275,000 to $320,000. These properties, when they're listed, average 16 days on the market. Homes in the 400,000 and over average 32 to 40 days in the market. Best price range right now is right around 410. And it's still a very competitive market with buyers many times paying 1.6% over the asking price to get a sale. She went on to say that she feels this will be a transitional year. Demand remains very strong. Home loan rates are moving between 5.9% and 6.1% for a 30-year fixed mortgage. These rates have calmed down considerably and buyers are getting used to these numbers. Some of you out there can remember back in the late 70s, early 80s, we paid 12 and 14% for home loan. We're happy to get it. She's hearing that it should stay this way throughout 2023. Home values in our areas have appreciated right about 4.8% from 2021. These are modest increases. However, building costs have increased nearly 30% during the same time frame. Reasons for the strong interest in our area remain the same. We've heard this year in and year out. And you can probably hear what I'm going to say next. Mukwonago is a friendly place. Anybody surprised? The schools are exceptional, Sean. We have nice restaurants. The buyers enjoy the small town feel. These are people that are coming here, buying homes here for the first time. It's not been in the community for 40 or 50 or 30 years. Small town feel. Lastly, it's the easy access to I-43. So you can get to the Milwaukee area, you can get to the airport, you can get to a Brewers game, whatever your interests are. They did not see anything but continued success and strength in the real estate market. I really appreciate Jamie for taking the time out of her day to share her insights about our community. And again, restate or reconfirm that real estate and home ownership is very valuable. Which has been in a housing growth cycle for some time now. There were 19 new single-family homes built in our village in 2022. Most were Fairwinds and minor subdivisions. Also, 4 two-family condos were completed in the Fairwinds area, and 1 4-unit condo was completed in the Edgewood subdivision or Meadows. During this last year, developers added just over 100 single-family lots for future growth. Walensky has finished the roads and utilities in phase 5 in Fairwinds. Also, Miners phase 4 has completed all their roads and utilities as well. There are lots ready to go as we move forward in this transitional year. Earlier this year, Fred and I met with Jeff Standoffer and Brett Engelking at Citizens Bank. Citizens Bank still employs over 175 people in our area. After talking with Jamie, I recalled Brett to follow up with the information I received from her. Brett said that they are seeing a slowdown in real estate, but not a stop. They're still making business loans and new home loans. The fixed rate is now 6% for a 30-year loan. So I thought that that was interesting that you had 2 sources and they have basically the same information. These rates are down from a month ago, and he is seeing it as a breather, as we go forward. He feels demand remains very strong. Some people may not want to sell because they aren't sure what they can buy for an upgrade or where they're going to go to. So you don't want to sell the house unless you have a place to go. Home equity loans are picking up. People are investing or reinventing their homes and improving their homes, that possibly getting them ready to sell in the future when they feel when it's time to move forward. Continuing on that home improvement line, I checked with the building inspector's office, and they issued just over 1,100 building permits. As there are only 3,400 residences in the village, it makes you think, wow, Home Depot must really be active. This is a jump from around 600 permits that were issued in 2021. This tells me that people are taking care of their property, taking care of their homes, and taking care of their investment. Indicator of the health of our community is the number of new businesses that came into the village. Last year, there were 27 new businesses listed. People are investing their time, their money, and their energy here in our community. Here are a few: Be Well Cafe, Life's Connection, Autos Fine Arts, Bear Nutrition, Armand's Wine and Liquor, Ferris Automated Systems, Vintage Vault Arcade, Boss Pizza and Chicken, Babe's Chicken and Pizza, Cloud9, Summit Labs, Holly Cross Photography, Judge Designs, and many others. Honestly, I have not been able to go to all these places, but again, it shows that people want to be there. Judge happens to be an antique store that moved into the former Crazy Bear Pizza storefront, which is right next door to the Fork in the Road. I was really impressed with the amount of items that he has in the store. Came here from Lake Geneva. It's worth a look after lunch or dinner at the Fork in the Road, and not just another draw for the downtown area, which is what we're always looking for. The Downtown Development Committee has been busy doing some of the things to improve our downtown. You may have noticed the new banners and the flower planters that were set up this last summer. If you're interested, you can buy or sponsor one of these planters. We're looking at the possibility of doing a streetscaping program throughout this area from Pearl Street down there. You must have noticed the temporary bump outs that were installed this last summer at Lake Street and also at the crosswalk on a Fork in the Road. These are installed to help slow down traffic in this area. We have had constant complaints over the years about speeding vehicles, and this is one way to. It allows for a shorter walking distance so pedestrians can get across Highway 83 safer. There were no accidents reported during this time when the bump outs were out. However, the reviews are mixed on their usefulness. We'll be working with our police department and public works to review the project again to see if we are going to install them again this spring. Downtown Development Committee is chaired by Trustee Scott Reeves. And the members are business owners and both village and town residents, and their service and time are very valuable because we want a rounded this area because it means so much to everybody. Our new outdoor performance stage has a new name. The Phantom Junction Stage was approved at the village board meeting earlier this month. This major park project was completed in late 2021. We held the first official concerts there on June 4th, 2022. The band that played, as heard earlier, was Mount Olive. Again, not to be confused with the Mount Olive Church Lutheran Church on Main Street. Heard that a lot. It was a nice crowd. I guess I didn't remember the rain, but I just remember the event. About what we hoped to, for considering it was our first event. The Rotary Club provided refreshments, and there were a lot of hot dogs and a lot of brats sold. It was nice to see everyone who came out to enjoy the music in the evening. However, we did learn some of our shortcomings. The most obvious was the lack of lighting on the walkways and paths. These were cut from the original budget. So now both Fred and Ron are currently working on a grant to help pay for part of those costs for the decorative lights that are needed. I will say I am a little disappointed that there weren't any follow-up concerts held after the village sponsored the first one. I was hoping that there would be some follow-up once people actually saw the great stage in the area for future events. This would seem to be a great place for a family reunion, wedding, picnic, with that large stage and all the new playground equipment in the park. We also learned just how much effort, planning, and people power is needed to set up an event. So we appreciate even more the efforts of the Lions Club when they Father's Day Parade and Summerfest, as well as the huge tasks that April and the Chamber go through for their Fall Fest and Midnight Magic events, much less the Maxwell Street Days put on by VFW. Should the village want to go forward with an actual concert series of its own, we will need to add additional staff such as a recreational or a parks director to make it happen. Ron is currently working with a group of interested people, sort of a resource development committee. This group funding resources, marketing, and partnerships to possibly help jumpstart this venue. Public Works, The activities here are just some of those projects that Ron has completed this last year. Ron hired 2 new employees in 2022. It is a very tight job market, as you all know. This included a new certified forester, Robert Wagner. Bob has 18 years experience with the Milwaukee County Park System and also 5 years with the city of Cudahy. We will again support the Arbor Day program this spring, partnering with the Girl Scouts and with We Energies. We've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. Throughout the village, Public Works has planted 70 new trees. 70 trees. They were planted around the library here, Division Street, Quantico Meadows, and in the minor subdivisions phases 3 and 4. We've also continued our sidewalk maintenance program. In 2022, 142 slabs were replaced in the older parts of the village and also throughout the first phase of Fairwinds. Should you have a problem with your sidewalk, please contact Ron for a replacement. We did a lot of that, what Ron calls a liquid sealer throughout the River Park Estates and also on Grand Avenue. This type of maintenance adds 7 to 8 years of life to asphalt roadway, which helps us keep costs down. Dilapidated wood bridges were replaced in Miners Park. If you're familiar with that area. These 3 structures were replaced with concrete culverts. The trail will be repaved this spring to complete that project. Ron has ordered new plow trucks. However, because of various reasons, including shortages, he does not expect delivery until late 2024 or early 2025. When you're buying equipment these days, it's 18 months to 2 years. Long lead time. He was able to purchase an additional 10 picnic tables for our parks. These aren't cheap either. They're about all the work Ron and his crews do to keep the streets, parks, and municipal buildings in great shape. So thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
Our wonderful library continues to recover from COVID years. I recently met with librarian Abby to see how things are going. The number of people coming through the door continues to rise, but it's still under the COVID year. Still, 98,167 people came through in 2022. The total number of items that are checked out has increased to a whopping 255,707 items. You have papers on the table there that can give you some more information as I continue. That is, to me, a huge number and shows the continuing importance and interest of our library to the community. There are over 1,000 new library cards issued. The Thingery program, interesting name, the Thingery program continues to expand with over 2,700 items borrowed. These include games, tech tools, 887 uses of the Milwaukee Zoo Pass, and 167 people checked out kayaks. Kayaks, yes, that's a kayak. Who knew? The Meta Space, 511 space, remains very popular too, with over 400 visits. Plus, the blood bank also, over 190 pints of blood were collected this year. And that helped over 560 patients. Very important need. Something that has taken considerable time from our librarian is the Gritzmacher collection and a federal law called NAGPRA. Today you'll see a headline in there. This is the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. The Gritzmacher collection was donated to our library in 1965. Arthur Gritzmacher was a decades-long artifact collector and dealer. This collection includes Civil War era money, medals, photographs, and a wide and varied collection of Native American artifacts. The collection contains over 12,400 pieces. Many of these Native American items are on display at the Mukwonago Historic Red Brick Museum. When the library was investigating the value of the collection, they discovered that this collection fell under the rules and regulations. Library board then hired Bernstein and Associates to inventory all of the Native American items in this collection. They then completed a NAGPRA summary of those items. Last October, the summary was approved and submitted to the National NAGPRA Commission and also mailed to all 345 tribes. All these tribes can contact the library and request more information and possibly claim an item. Once the summary was composted, the response was they had responses from 8 tribes in the first 24 hours alone. These requests for information on items they saw in the collection after it was posted. Since the posting, at least one additional tribe has requested follow-up information per week. Library had the first repatriation item going out to the Wilt Mancherian tribe in California. Sorry, I can't pronounce that word very well, but grants are also available to help defer the costs related to these reparations. The items in the collection will remain available. Library is committed to continuing to do the right thing for the tribes, our community, and the Kritzmacher collection. The library will also continue to work with the Red Brick Museum to display as many items of this collection as possible. The time and documentation involved is more detailed, is very much detailed. And if you should be interested in more information about this, contact Abby. She has become a reluctant expert on this topic. I spoke with Rick Swan to check on the YMCA and see how they're recovering from COVID. The daily numbers continue to rise. You have about 2,700 people a day coming through the door. This is still down from before COVID, but not by much. Membership has now grown to just under 10,000 members for our Y. That is up from last year. They now have virtual classes that can be taken if you're a member. And the membership and daily use is much higher here than at other Ys. Y still works with schools for their water safety courses for the young children. They come to the Y to learn water safety using their pools, helping to teach youngsters the dangers of water, because at this age, they are fearless around rivers, lakes. Sports remain very busy as well with both adult and senior leagues, including pickleball. September of 2022 marked the 10th anniversary of the opening of the Quantico YMCA. Hard to believe. It's been a decade already. And for a place that some people thought would never be successful. I guess 10,000 memberships proved that point wrong. Lastly, Rick wants to remind everybody that our Y is continuing to follow the COVID cleaning protocols for client health and safety. An update on our schools, I contacted Superintendent Sean McNulty, told him off over there in the district office. He told me that 6 of the elementary schools have received the highest ranking the Department of Public Instruction can give. 5 stars. So that's the highest ranking you can get. These schools exceed expectations. District overall has a rating of 4 stars. Population still numbers around 5,000, and we have an open enrollment of around 600. The open enrollment tells me 2 things. First, it shows that you still have capacity for growth within. Secondly, it shows that our system is a school of choice, meaning that students choose to come here from outside of our district. This spring, they will start to hold community focus groups to explore the possibility of a new middle school and other future needs for the district. You may know that Sean will be retiring from our school district. His last day will be June 30th. He retires with 35 years in education, 30 years here in the Quantico. John, words don't always work when you're trying to say thank you, but thank you for all your dedication, tireless energy, and the countless hours that you have given to make our most valuable possessions, our children, the very best they can be. Thank you. I wish you the very best of health and a long and very successful retirement. Now, the new administrator has already been hired, and he will start on July 1st. Joe Cook, us from the Waukesha School District, and Sean has assured me that he is well prepared to take over this very important job in our community. Events we had in 2020 2022 was the opening of the Pro Healthcare Hospital. This project was years in the planning and construction. The project had its delays with COVID, steel shortages, and other problems getting equipment. However, around January 27th of 2022, the hospital opened up. The project cost over $100 million, and it provided an additional 100 jobs to the site. I contacted Brad Treachel, their Chief Transformation Officer, for some details on how things are going. 60 patients were admitted to the new hospital. They are now averaging 9 to 12 patients for the hospital per day. There were 372 surgeries performed in the hospital as well. Specialties and procedure types included procedures that I won't even try to pronounce. There are 11,000 emergency calls. 11,500 emergency room visits, 14,900 urgent care clinic visits, 66,000 medical group visits, 56,000 physical, occupation, and speech outpatient visits, 2,600 radiation treatments, 23,000 outpatient imaging, MRIs, CAT scans, and so forth. So you can see their investment in our community has contributed greatly to the health and well-being of our residents and everyone in the area. Thanks to Pro Healthcare for all you do. Passing of Andy Fix was devastating to his family and his many friends. At 59 years old, he was just too young to leave us. It is hard to remember a time when Andy wasn't at Mukwonago Viking. His business has always been a destination business. Like his name, he liked to fix things. He worked hard and enjoyed the Mukwonago area. Dare I say he loved it. This store has recently been sold. The new owner is Brock Anderson. Brock comes to us from Milwaukee, where he managed Eric's Bikes. He has a lot of bike experience. The store will return to normal hours in February. Brock will be working with Stephanie, a longtime employee with Andy. We will always remember Andy, and I am sure he is watching over his Mukwonago Vikings. Kroger Corporation rebranded our Pick and Save. They call it Metro Mart. Grand reopening was this last November. And remodeling throughout the store. Highlights was the introduction of Green Bay Packer Leroy Butler, the inventor of the Lambeau Elite, actually here in Mukwonago. Leroy is a very outgoing individual, and he spoke about how it takes a team to be successful. Example of a corporation reinvesting in our community. Mart will also be doing some remodeling in April. They plan to add an additional 7,000 square feet to improve the very successful pickup service that they offer. GS Global is moving forward with the expansion plans this year. John Thornton is working to add an additional 70,000 square feet to their current building at Perkins Drive. Once completed, he expects to add around 40 new jobs. They have temporarily taken over some 25,000 square feet in the old Lillian Rose building, the expanded assemblies facilities that they have. Also, congratulations to them for being in business for 50 years. Anybody. The IDC, Instrument Development Corporation, has completed their move into the former Banker Wire building on the other end of Perkins Drive. Matt and Joe tell me that they have 3 machines left to move. However, they are setting up in the remodeled area in the remodeled 107. Will now be consolidated into one location. They now have 135 employees. Also, he has an additional 40,000 square feet if anybody's looking for room. They currently are leasing 10,000 square feet to Bruce over at Gearbox. So, speaking of Gearbox, they're working with Bruce as he proceeds with his 70,000 square foot addition. We're working together on a possible grant to help pay for the needed extension of Dewey Drive. The actual start of the construction is being delayed because of building material shortages. And lastly, we have the 188,000 square foot building being completed in Kid Number 5 on Hill Court. The Hilltop Investment Group is working with Ryan Builders to complete this project in March or early April. Mark Green and the Lynch Group are happy to have their completed service area and new service garage for their Jeep dealership. Mark and Lynch for all they do for our high school. I know there are other projects and businesses that I have missed. Doesn't mean they aren't important, just out of time. However, what I hope you take away from this meeting is this. It means a busy place that people want to live in. They want to build their futures here. Works because we all work together as a community. Progress, even a little progress, is progress. We have so many things to be thankful for in our community. Our community could not be successful with all of your help today. Lastly, please think on this. Value time above all, for what you cherish will not always remain. Thank you for your time and patience this morning. I have questions afterward to your soul, but I do have a couple questions for you. Can somebody tell me how many single family homes were built in Quantico? Last year.
760.
Who said 19? All right. How many are paid that? All right. The name of the outdoor stage. All right, who said it?
Back here.
I can't.
And I have a new one. And I got 2 more questions, but this is the hardest one. Name the new forester.
I did. That's because he's super nice to the library.
Okay. Now I'll turn this over to Fred. I believe he has some pictures from his recent vacation. He spent Christmas in Vienna, Austria, so he has some pictures he wants to share with us. Fred.
So while I was in Vienna, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your busy schedule. I really, before I kick this off, I want to thank the community. I want to thank John. So kind to me being new here. Who've invited me into their homes, who've taken me out to eat, or taken me out for a cup of coffee or a portable beverage, which has really helped kind of bring me into the community. I really want to thank everybody for making that. So let me tell you a little bit about village administration. We provide oversight, supervision of personnel, financial management, enforcement of policies, procedures to ensure standardized and efficient village operations. This is the nub of these 3 folks do. The administration department, if you will, a village hall is led by Diana Doherty. It's led by Diana Dykstra and Fred Schnook. These 2 ladies. Right. If you know the 2 Dianas, you know what I'm saying. We're assisted by some really wonderful people outside of the department heads, Matthew Rockley, Linda Burnt, and Linda Gordo, who we couldn't perform our work without these folks. They're the ones who are the face of Village Hall. They're the ones who are greeting our customers every day. So before I get into any accomplishments from last year, I want to try to provide you some data that I think you might find useful. First of all, McGuanago is split. It's split between Waukesha County and Walworth County. Okay, that's important. It's also split between 2 districts. It's split school districts, split between the McGuanago district and the East Troy district. And we also have the Phantom Lakes district. So you essentially have multiple taxing agencies. So when folks say, how can this neighbor next to me But the same house I got have a different tax bill. That's why they're oftentimes split between districts. Gets to be really complicated, and I'm not going to get into the complication of it. That's kind of why you have these variations in the community. The next thing I want to mention is our population. Base population is 8,384. Okay, it's grown rapidly. Mukwonago has doubled in population since 1980. This is important data that we track because it helps drive a lot of issues in the community in terms of being able to capture grants or funding. And I wanted to talk about, which President Fred mentioned briefly, is our equalized value, $1,243,347,200 this last year. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of value in the community. Take a look where we were at in 2000. Okay, it's quadrupled. That's the kind of growth the community is experiencing. Again, this data is important. This also helps aid us in state grants, federal grants, on how we and other information that's really important for the community. And then just to give you a brief snapshot, percentage of sector values by the county. Okay, so you can see in Waukesha County, the percent residential compared to Walworth County, the percent residential as compared to manufacturing. That also helps, click this on exit. That also helps to make some differences in tax rates and how people calculations are figured out in terms of that. Okay, but it's important to understand that I think that Mukwonago has a very significant manufacturing base that's in the community, but it's not evenly divided between the two. Taxes, which President Fred talked about. I want to remind you about 8% inflation last year. 8% inflation, 8% inflation last year, or 7.5% based on a consumer price index. I want you to know I met with each village department head and we reviewed their capital operations and their budgets with them. The department heads were diligent in pinching every penny that they could. And consequently, we presented a very conservative approach to the fiscal year 2023 when considering the totals of that level of inflation. Total increase in budgeted expenditure was approximately 4.7%. Okay, yeah, a little bit less for Walworth County, a little bit more for Waukesha County, a little bit more for Walworth County. 7.5%, most of that being attributed to health insurance increases, supply costs, wage increases for our employees. However, the referendum did have an impact, also increasing the mill rate beyond that amount. But I do want to thank you for continuing to support this vital life-saving service to our community. It's really, really critical that we try to keep this if we can. Another point, to put that into context for people, because again, what we get at City Hall is we get people griping a lot about how high their taxes are. So I did want to serve you with this. The Wisconsin Policy Forum ranked all the villages and cities in the state, 660 of them respectively. Mukwonago ranks 568 out and 630 out of those 660, respectively, Waukesha and Walworth County. So Waukesha County ranks 568, Walworth County ranks 630 of that ranking of 660. So while Mukwonago and Waukesha County residents, Mukwonago's Waukesha County residents, say that 3 times fast, ranks in the bottom 14th percentile in terms of taxes. Meanwhile, Mukwonago Walworth County residents rank in the bottom 5 percentile of that list of taxes for last year. Those are gross districts. Thank you to the counties and thank you to the technical college contributes to that amount. The next slide on the right-hand side, driven by a $1 million income tax cut and tight limits on property taxes, Wisconsin's local tax burden fell in 2022 to its lowest level on record. Local taxes as a share of income have never been lower in more than half a century of data being collected. State and federal taxes on families and businesses are also at historic lows. Okay. Revenues versus expenditures. Our general fund budget, and by the way, we manage 16 different budgets. Okay, so there's 6 different, budgets that we manage. The big one everyone's concerned about is the general fund, $5,758,852. Okay. Approximately $6 million in our general fund budget. Where's that money come from? 3.6 million comes out of property taxes. The rest is intergovernmental licenses and permits, intergovernmental charges, and other miscellaneous revenues that we calculate. Where are the expenditures? Police, DPW, cross-functional, building inspection, clerk, admin, courts, and so forth. So kind of the difference between where's the money in the general fund coming in, where's the money going out. But again, there's leverage at play here. Okay, that's important to understand too. That while the general fund is really where everyone tends to focus on, because it's where the property taxes come out of. We also manage 15 additional budgets, 16 overall. And this budget, the general fund budget, allows us to leverage that up. Overall, we have a total operating budget of approximately 24 million. General fund is the one that folks tend to focus on. Next big thing for last year and this year is financial stewardship. As President Fred mentioned, maintaining our AA bond rating is really critical. In 2022, our non-reserved usable fund balance is at 33% of general fund expenditures. So of all of our, if you will, 33% of that is kept in reserves. So that's a healthy reserves. The board has a policy that we're at 30. But again, that helps maintain our double A bond rating. We refunded some band debt and changed it to go debt. So our debt looks like it increased, but it's really a wash because it's just different types of debt. We didn't borrow any new dollars for new projects in 2022. In 2022, the village paid $1,334,868 in projects that were covered by reserve dollars, that were covered by share revenues, interest revenues, showing the wise use of our taxpayers' dollars. We changed our financial advisor, which we feel will improve services and perhaps save some costs. And finally, I want you to check out the village's budget book that's on our website. It's a really good place to get a lot of detail. What we're continuing looking for in terms of financial stewardship is the role that inflation is impacting. It's impacting all areas of the village, particularly staffing. And again, this shouldn't surprise anyone. Anyone who's in business, you're having some of the same issues in the businesses that I've talked to. The public should insist that we run government more like a business, and we're trying very, very hard to do that. But like the private sector, local governments that are poised for long-term success will do what's good, what good businesses do. Pay their staff a living wage, pay their staff a competitive wage, train and support their personnel, embrace appropriate technology, welcome innovation, diversify their ranks, honor their volunteers, and do everything they can to be professional, honorable, and focused on results of their mission. So as I mentioned, this past year, the village paid down $1.3 million loan with existing cash reserves. The village now sits in a stronger financial position than we have previously. 2022, our non-reserve usable fund balance stood at 33%. We'll continue as necessary as we move forward throughout the year. The goal for this last year was increased transparency. We established our weekly wrap-up email. So if you can, go to our Facebook page of the village and hit subscribe to get this. It's a really nice piece, but it's staff intensive. We need to create, content every week. The department heads are kind of submitting to Diana, here's what we're doing this week, and that gets added to this and goes out. So there's a lot of staff effort behind this, but I think you'll find it really useful. The village.gov domain, we used to be a .com domain, so we're now a .gov. About a year transition, so if you're still emailing us in .com, it'll go through, but be aware of that. But it's done for security reasons. It's far more secure for us to be in the .gov. Training and onboarding of newly elected officials. We did a whole orientation piece, put together an orientation manual and sat down with all of our elected officials and did a deep dive to make sure that they understood all aspects of the operation. We launched a new website. This part's amazing. Conducted local and federal elections, processing over 7,500 ballots. and engaging the community with the I voted sticker. That was really a cool thing. Families involved and everything else. But 7,500 ballots is amazing. And what's really amazing about that, if you don't like the election rules, wait an hour. They change all the time, okay? So kudos to our staff who did a dynamite job in a really tough situation. Board meetings are live streamed and are archived after each meeting. So increasing transparency was a goal that I think we helped to push forward. The next was interdepartmental coordination. As President Fred mentioned, it's all about we. It's anything in a community. It takes a group of people to get things done. And interdepartmental coordination is really critical to get stuff done. We replaced the troubled and unsupported phone system. We moved to voice over IP, increasing efficiency and saving dollars in our phone systems. We contracted with an IT support firm and mapped out all of our antennas and connectivity points within the village. This was really important because we didn't have that previously. Nobody was really sure how we're all connected. We now have it all mapped out, and if our we've got a map that we can give to the next person as to how we're connected. So security, again, important stuff. We created cross-departmental flow charts for tall grass. How will we manage tall grass and weeds? Sidewalk obstructions, junk vehicles, property maintenance, and code enforcement. I realize this is some boring stuff, but it's important because when we come to property maintenance, when a house is dilapidated and the owner's a crank, everybody's doing this. Who is this? Well, it's the police. Well, no, not really. It's building inspection. No, not really. It's public works. So to map that out, because all three have to be involved, right? But at what term, at what length on the process? So that was really important to create that coordination between the departments. We hired a new financial advisor. We hired a new lawyer, and we hired a new planner. I really want to talk about the new planner for a minute. Aaron Scharf is in the back of the room. So I want you to recognize Aaron. So if you have a development, thinking about doing something new, please call Aaron. Don't call me anymore. So I'm sorry, I had to put that, but we're really happy to have Aaron on board. We developed pop-up venue, beer garden ordinance, which we think is going to be important, not only for the new development that drove this, which was the block, which we've got some pictures of in the back, and Bradley is working on that. We think it's going to be something that's really going to help move the community. What's that mean in the future? We really need fiber. All of our offices, all of our well towers are connected via antennas, and they get screwy in the weather, and they break down when things happen. So one of the things that's happened in our offices are in Village Hall is our connectivity went down. Our computers don't work. When we researched it and found out why, it was because it was blocking an antenna by the police department when they had their garbage picked up, because the garbage lift blocked the antenna. That's the kind of things we're dealing with. So one of the things we're going to be talking about in the future is trying to get that on our agenda. Thing that we feel was a push for this year, employee turnover, which has been a persistent problem and a big goal for this past year. We feel that providing a full COLA increase will slow down and perhaps stop. I spent a lot of time on this year was the creation of a community and economic development department. We merged the building inspection and planning departments to streamline services, educate our residents and business owners, contractors, and developers. We create to track progress. Just believe it is a biggie. We were not clear as to how many developments were in process or where were they in the works. We now have that. The goal is to seamlessly move Mukwonago's economic base with a focus on commercial, industrial, and residential. We're trying to increase customer by mapping out our customer journeys. What do our customers have to go through, and try to identify the pain points in that process. I'm focusing on the first one right now, which is how people access us. We want to provide more efficient building permitting and inspection, business contractors license, property maintenance, property occupancy, and zoning administration. That's where we're going. Okay, I'm giving a high sign, so let's move quickly. As President Fred said, a lot of activity going on in town. We went from 615 building permits issued to 1,104 this past year. So again, it's not just new construction. It's a lot of activity with redevelopment going on in town. President Fred mentioned, this is 1/3 of the residents in the community, 1/3 of the buildings in the community. Spent a lot of time creating TID 6 in order to facilitate the development of much needed housing services in a commercial district, which we feel will be south of this. This is the Toronto or Maple Center development, which folks have probably heard about, 644 units. Residential apartments, 120 of which will be senior housing. We're going to be putting in new wayfinding signs all over the community over the course of the next 4 years. A lot of activity on the board discussing that we can discuss $1 million project, goes over pretty quickly. Signs, boy, debates about color and all kinds of other good stuff. So this took a while for us to get to. This next year, we'll be bidding out the 6 big entrance signs, and then we'll be working into the village on the smaller signs. So I think we got a pretty cool design. Kind of reminds me of the old WPA or the National Parks. Banners have been approved and we're up. Planter sponsorship program, the flowers look just gorgeous. Traffic bump outs, we'll see where that goes in the future. The data's, we'll see where that goes. 30% plans, we're gonna redo our downtown streetscaping. And then we're gonna keep working to better address small and downtown business development through our community and economic. Department purchased 3 Tahoes last year after a 2-year wait. Squads together and a lot of other equipment together with baling wire and help. Again, some great donations from the community, masons and from others to help us get through our equipment and staffing. Joint village and town fire department. Big concentration this year was on getting the referendum and getting the 6 additional staff for that department. Call volumes were down a little bit, but we're hopeful that with these additional staff, we'll actually be able to provide more services. The library, again, here's kind of their activities. We've got a little make these slides available when there's time to read these. Public Works Department, a lot of this stuff was mentioned. We hired a new crew supervisor, but I want to not new. We had a crew supervisor. It's a different crew supervisor. So we did not add departments, but or add staff, but we hired some new staff due to turnover. Installation of the bench donations, including the Jackson Spark family, which I certainly want to recognize here. The court plan, comprehensive outdoor rec plan. One of the things McGuanago loves, the people of McGuanago, they love their parks. The national standard for parks is for every 1,000 people to have 10 acres of park. We've got 8,200 people, we should have 80 acres of park. We have 600 acres of park. 300 are active. All 300 of them are swampland, but 300 active acres of park where we should have about 8. And people love it. People responded. There was great community. We're going to be working on ticking those off and getting those in. Debut outdoor stage, which was talked about. 2 things I want you to put in your calendar. July 3rd, there's going to be a tentative celebration, and October 7th. The group's looking. The group I'm talking about is the resource group, the resource development team that was put together, which again is critically needed. You know, to have a group of volunteers who will make this happen takes a huge burden off of staff to make this happen. So I want to thank those volunteers for working on that. Water utilities, total drinking water pumped, 207 million gallons of water. Sewage, 314 gallons of sewage. Oops. Why don't those add up? I can tell you why. It's inflow and infiltration, I in the business. What that means is the difference between 274 and I don't have a calculator, 314, that's leakage into our system. When it rains, now we're treating rainwater. So it takes a lot of time and effort to go through and look at your pipes and make sure that they're not leaking and seal those up. Forecast, what's ahead? We're working on a grant writing strategy, increase operations budget to fill much needed staff. We talked about there's a lot of staff needs that we have to try to fill. The value of the town has quadrupled in 20 years. Town has doubled in size in 40 years. The staff have not. And people are really good. I mean, people are really good at offering me advice and counsel. You know, Fred, what you should do is We need the staff, we need the bodies to be able to deliver that, particularly an outreach and community liaison person. We really need a parking lot board. Streetlights, downtown streetscaping, pop-up beer gardens. Sale of our last industrial lot has now been completed with Bryan Builders. Hopefully they'll be developing that this year, but again, we're now out of industrial space. So this is going to be a discussion. Widening Highway 83 by the industrial park. And there are discussions taking place again that have been revived between East Troy and us about creating an East Troy trail. You have any questions? It's our contact information. Thank you for allowing us to present to you today.
Have some time for questions for the Freds.
Just raise your hand. We're gonna ask that you ask your question into a microphone. So if anybody is using our hearing loop, they can accessibly access everything. Yes.
Good morning. My question is, the 14.35 acres that you just talked about in the industrial lot that is sold, or it's for sale?
It's currently under contract.
Okay.
So the Bryan Builders has it under contract, I believe, 8 months now. And if they don't have a buyer by that time frame, we work back up.
Okay, that was my next question. Any insight on what is
Can you come
potentially going in?
the virtual world now?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, what was that now?
That was my next question, was any insight on what's potentially going in there?
No.
Okay. Okay.
You didn't know I was going to test you before I asked you a question. Thank you. You can get a wall. We'll be hanging around out here.
I have a question from home. How about the, I don't know if you mentioned, but
The Peebles property, anything going on with that, or is that just in the works?
I believe it's in the works. I heard a rumor, and so what do you want to say? Well, the People's property is being looked at to be stay tuned. I'll bring it up in 2023. Bring it up. Okay, thank you. We'll be around here if you have a question for Trevor and myself. Thank you very much.
what are the questions?
Another question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Does anyone know about the McAdams property? If anything's going in there or?
Not that I know of. Again, it's one of those things that the building was in such bad repair that it was taken down. And now the lot's available, so I'm sure that they'll be looking at something. Lots don't stay vacant very long. I think that I've seen. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone today and for your participation. A little bit of homework before you leave. Go back and visit Dave. He's got a lot of cookies back there for the road. Take some for your loved ones or someone you work with. Also a couple of dates that we have coming up. June 30th. Hopefully I get this right. The Wisconsin Kids for Wisconsin said July 3rd and October 7th. Hopefully I got those dates right, somewhere in calendars. As we leave this meeting and go out into the world, life and work, all the things we think, say.
Rotarians can stand, please.
Oh, thank you. I was wondering. Of the things we think, say, and do, let us remember to ask ourselves.
Was it the truth?
Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Everybody online.
So.